This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
It's 6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The morning news edited by Romesh Piris, read by Soundi Tavam. A special gazette issued declaring electricity supply an essential service. The Power and Energy Minister says cannot increase electricity tariffs just to pay CEB salaries. The court issues warrant for MP Johnston Fernando's arrest. SJB parliamentarian Patali Champika Ranaweka says he will function as an independent MP in the parliament. The Ministry of Agriculture implements a program to prevent the shortage of quality seed paddy required for the 2022-23 Maha season. China is willing to help Sri Lanka deal with debt burden. In international news, Zelensky ties fate of East Ukraine to battle for city. And in sports cricket, Richardson's, Maxwell and Wade star in Australia's wobbly but series-sealing win. The Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Wijesekara says the request made by the Ceylon Electricity Board for increasing electricity tariff rates will not be submitted to the Cabinet of Ministers. Addressing the Parliament on Wednesday, the lawmaker said the decision was taken as certain engineers in the CEB are against the implementation of renewable energy generation plans. According to the minister, the majority of the CEB's expenses are due to the salaries paid to its senior officials and electricity purchasers from diesel-powered power plants. Minister Wijesekara explained the proposed amendment only seeks to remove the legal impediment to investors. He stressed that the proposed amendment would definitely be tabled in Parliament today. The Colombo Fort Magistrate Tilina Gamage issued a warrant for the arrest of MP Johnston Fernando. On the directives of the Attorney General, the parliamentarian was named as a suspect in the case filed over the incidents of violence on May 9th in Golface and Kolupitia. When the case was taken up on Wednesday, Additional Solicitor General Ayesha Jinasena told the court that the suspect who is in hiding is absconding the investigating officers. Accordingly, the Additional Solicitor General sought the court to issue a warrant for the arrest of the parliamentarian. Meanwhile, the Colombo Fort Magistrate further remanded 4 suspects, including parliamentarian Sanat Nishanta, Morachua Mayor Saman Lal Fernando, and extremist Dan Piasad, till the 15th of this month, when they were produced before the court on Wednesday in connection with the May 9th attack on the Kolupitia and Golface protesters. However, 13 suspects, including MP Milanja Tilaka, who were remanded in connection with the incident, have been granted bail and released on 2 personal sureties of 1 million rupees each. The Samagi Jana Balavege Colombo District parliamentarian Patali Champika Ranaweka says he will function as an independent MP in Parliament from today by leaving the SJB-led alliance. Speaking in Parliament, MP Ranaweka said he informed in writing of his intentions to the SJB. He said during the current climate, both the government and the opposition have a bigger role to play. The parliamentarian added that he is of the view that an all-party interim government should be formed to steer the country forward. Meanwhile, it is reported that former Minister Basil Rajapaksa is scheduled to step down from his parliamentary seat. It is also reported that former Minister Basil Rajapaksa is scheduled to make a statement at a special press conference at the SLBC headquarters today regarding his decision to step down from the parliamentary seat. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Digital accounts can now be opened in 10 minutes. People's Bank Digital Banking, your ultimate convenience.
The Ministry of Agriculture has implemented a program to prevent the shortage of quality seed paddy required for paddy cultivation in the 2022-2023 Maha season. Seed paddy required for the Maha season is generally produced during the Yala season. However, the ministry states that the farmers who cultivated seed paddy in the 2022 Yala season were facing a big problem due to the lack of chemical fertilizers. The Minister of Agriculture, Mahinda Amarveera, has instructed the Department of Agriculture to take immediate steps to provide the required chemical fertilizers to the seed paddy farmers as per the findings of the discussions held with the representatives of the farmers' organizations. Seed paddy has been sown in 6,774.3 hectares this Yala season, covering all 9 provinces of the country, including the Mahaveli zone. A Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson said on Wednesday that China has been paying close attention to the current difficulties and challenges Sri Lanka faces and assisting the country within its capacity. Spokesperson JUN made the remarks at a daily news briefing when answering a relevant query. According to Zhao, China has announced emergency humanitarian assistance worth 500 million yuan to Sri Lanka. The first batch of medicine has arrived in the country and the first batch of rice is on its way. China has also provided assistance to various channels, including local governments and friendship organizations. Zhao said after the Sri Lankan government announced a suspension of foreign debt repayment, Chinese financial institutions took the initiative to consult with the Sri Lankan side, expressing their willingness to properly deal with maturing China-related debts and help Sri Lanka cope with the current difficulties. Muslim Religious and Cultural Affairs Department states that they will be sending 1,585 devotees from Sri Lanka on the Hajj pilgrimage this year. This year, 1,585 Sri Lankans were expected to perform Hajj after Saudi Arabia announced last month that it would allow 1 million foreign and domestic Muslims to travel to the holy city of Makkah in the pilgrimage season. And with that, we conclude local news.
Debit card, mobile and internet banking along with cardless cash facilities can now be open in just 10 minutes with no form filling with People's Bank Digital Banking.
Thank you very much for letting me know. It took less time than finishing my morning cup of tea.
People's Bank Digital Banking, your ultimate convenience.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
A Gazette Extraordinary has been issued declaring the supply of electricity and essentials service effective from Wednesday, June 8th. The communique was issued by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa by virtue of the powers vested in him in terms of Section 2 of the Essential Public Services Act No. 61 of 1979 and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, public servants who are looking for employment overseas are given the opportunity to register themselves at the Sri Lanka Bureau of Foreign Employment. Public servants can enter their information by visiting the SLBFE official website, that's slbfe.lk, and that came to you in Watchlight. And moving on to a bulletin of world news this morning, making headlines, Zelensky ties fate of East Ukraine to battle for city. IAEA censures Iran over nuclear substances at undeclared sites. And Harvey Weinstein to be charged with indecent assault in the UK. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky has said that fighting for the city of Severodonetsk may decide the outcome of the war in the east of the country. He said in many respects the fate of the Donbass is being decided there as combat raged in the industrial belt with Russian and separatist forces. He said his troops were inflicting major losses on enemy forces. The board of the International Nuclear Watchdog has adopted a resolution criticizing Iran's response to the discovery of nuclear substances at undeclared sites in the country. The resolution submitted by the United States, Britain, France and Germany passed on Wednesday at the ongoing Board of Governors meeting at the headquarters of the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna. Russia and China opposed it. The IAEA reported in May that Iran failed to provide credible explanations on nuclear substances. Former Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein will be charged with 2 counts of indecent assault against a woman in London in the summer of 1996. The Crown Prosecution Service authorized the Metropolitan Police to charge a 70-year-old after a review of evidence gathered by the force. The Metropolitan Police said it is alleged 2 offences took place between 31st July and 31st August 1996. The force said the alleged victim is a woman who is now aged in her 50s. And back to the headlines of the world news. Zelensky ties fate of East Ukraine to battle for city. IAEA censures Iran over nuclear substances at undeclared sites. And Harvey Weinstein to be charged with indecent assault in the UK. That concludes this bulletin of world news, and moving on to development news. The Urban Development and Housing Minister Prasanna Ranatunga said that 782 acres of land belonging to the Urban Development Authority have been identified as cultivatable lands under the government's programme to cultivate urban lands. The minister has instructed the relevant authorities to commence cultivation of these lands immediately. According to the minister, these lands are located in all the districts of the island. They range in size from 1 to 400 acres of land. The minister further instructed the authorities to identify the crops endemic to each area and cultivate them in these lands. And that came to you in development news.
Sports news is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
On to cricket, the Richardsons, Kane and Jai shared 7 wickets between them to clean out Sri Lanka's middle and lower orders. Glenn Maxwell took 2 as well, and Josh Hazlewood bowled 4 overs for just 14 runs. All this meant that on either side of a 66-run stand for the 3rd wicket, Sri Lanka's batting fell to pieces again, and the hosts limped their way to 124. Wanindu Hasaranga magicked his team back into the game with 2 wickets in the power play and 2 more later on, returning match figures of 4 for 33. Matthew Wade took them home with an unbeaten 26 with Jai for company. It was a comfortable win in the end, but not one without tense moments. Meanwhile, Test all-rounder Cameron Green sent selectors a timely reminder of limited overs credentials with an unbeaten century to guide Australia A to a thumping 7-wicket victory against their Sri Lankan counterparts. After being sent in by air skipper Alex Carey, the hosts posted a comprehensive 7 for 297 from their 50 overs at the SSE grounds, with Australia left to rue a handful of dropped catches in what was a sloppy fielding performance in Colombo's sweltering heat on Wednesday. And that came to you in sports news. We'll look at business news next.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
As one of the world's 36 biodiversity hotspots, Sri Lanka has the highest biodiversity per unit area of land among all Asian countries. Protecting the unique and diverse ecosystems is vital in the fight against accelerating climate change and as an indicator of the health and resilience of the environment. Tourism is an effective method of leveraging and mobilizing available natural resources for biodiversity financing. Accordingly, the United Nations Development Programme in Sri Lanka supported the Biodiversity Secretariat of the Ministry of Environment in Sri Lanka to conduct an awareness program for tour guides and tour operators to promote ecotourism in Dambulla at the NIFS Popham Arboretum. And that came to you in business news.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
And on to economic news. Sri Lanka's official foreign reserves have increased for the first time in 5 months. According to the report issued by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the official foreign reserves assets have increased to $1,920 million in the month of May from $1,812 million in April. The foreign currency reserves have increased to $1,805 million in May from $1,602 million in April. The CBSL said Sri Lanka's gold reserves are at $28 million at present, and that came to you in economic news. On to the weather report. The Meteorological Department forecast several spells of showers to occur in the western, Sabragamo and northwestern provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Gaul and Matara districts. It predicts fairly strong winds about 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee and Hambantota districts. And to conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. A special gazette issued declaring electricity supply and essential service. The Power and Energy Minister says cannot increase electricity tariffs just to pay CEB salaries. The court issues warrant for MP Johnston Fernando's arrest. SJB parliamentarian Patali Champika Ranaweka says he will function as an independent MP in Parliament. The Ministry of Agriculture implements a program to prevent the shortage of quality seed paddy required for the 2022-23 Maha season. China is willing to help Sri Lanka deal with debt burden. Zelensky ties fate of East Ukraine to battle for city. And Richardson's, Maxwell and Wades tie in Australia's wobbly but series sealing win. And with that, we conclude this morning's news broadcast.